After years of silence, Juanita Bynum has finally spoken up, and what she just said about Bishop T.D. Jakes stepping down is shaking the entire church world. This isn't just another farewell, this is personal. And you won't believe the truth behind her words, because some say it's been building for over 2 decades. When one of the most influential spiritual leaders of our time, Bishop T.D. Jakes, announced his decision to step down, the Christian community was stunned. But what caught even more attention was what came after, a voice from the past, bold and unfiltered. Dr. Juanita Bynum, a powerhouse in her own right, finally broke her silence. And what she had to say wasn't just about his departure, it was about everything that led up to it. From their early days on global stages to the tension that simmered beneath the surface, the history between Bynum and Jakes runs deep. For decades, Bishop Jakes has stood tall as a symbol of spiritual leadership. His sermons were thunderous, his books sold millions, and his Woman, Thou Art Loosed conferences changed lives. To the public, he was a titan of faith, an unshakable figure who carried grace, wisdom, and power. But behind the polished sermons and grand stages, Juanita Bynum saw something else, something the public never questioned. She wasn't just a casual observer of Jakes's rise, she was part of the movement. Many even credit Bishop Jakes for launching her into stardom after she delivered her electrifying No More Sheets sermon at one of his major conferences, a raw, real message that millions of women needed. While the cameras showed unity, whispers of tension began to circulate behind the scenes. According to those close to the situation, Juanita and Bishop Jakes had very different ideas about ministry, accountability, and the responsibility of spiritual leaders. While Jakes believed in preserving a certain image and exercising discretion in public matters, Bynum, always outspoken, believed that truth, even when uncomfortable, should never be hidden. In private circles, she allegedly raised concerns about what she called the celebrity culture developing in the church, megapastors living like moguls, congregations giving blindly, and lavish conferences that felt more like entertainment than spiritual restoration. Though she never named Jakes directly at the time, insiders say the tension was real. So while the world saw 2 giants walking in unity, the reality was more complicated, a relationship marked by mutual respect but underscored by growing differences in values. And when Bishop Jakes announced his departure from leadership, Bynum didn't offer the expected pleasantries. She offered truth, or at least her truth. When she finally spoke, her words weren't just a response to Jakes stepping down, they were a reflection of everything she had seen and experienced throughout their years in the spotlight. Rather than bashing or criticizing, Bynum brought something more profound to the table: clarity. In a candid interview, she revealed behind-the-scenes truths about the spiritual empire many had only seen from the outside. She spoke with conviction, unapologetically addressing what happens when success becomes all-consuming. Her core message was this: too often, spiritual leaders are treated as untouchable idols, and the pressure to maintain that image can destroy the very soul of a ministry. People want to be inspired. They want to be healed. But what happens when the healing stops and the image takes over? She asked. Bynum wasn't just reflecting on Jakes's decision. She was questioning the entire system of celebrity-driven ministries that often veer away from their true calling. Her words hit hard. What do you do when your ministry is more about the brand than the calling? She asked, a question that resonated deeply across faith communities. There were no scandalous accusations, just a powerful critique of a culture obsessed with success over service. According to Bynum, Jakes's decision to step down wasn't just about fatigue, it was about breaking away from a ministry that had become a monster. The empire he had built was massive, spanning television, publishing, film, and more. But as Bynum pointed out, with great power comes great cost. The system was built on image, she said, and when you can't maintain that image, you crack. She spoke from experience, explaining how many leaders lose themselves in maintaining public perfection rather than nurturing spiritual authenticity. You can't serve from an empty cup, she warned. The weight of expectation, the isolation of leadership, and the constant demand for more, it all takes a toll. Bynum suggested that the real reason behind Jakes's resignation may have been deeper than exhaustion. It was about a system that had grown unsustainable. Behind the glamour of mega ministries were politics, gossip, and power struggles that few ever saw. When you reach a point like this, she said, you realize the people closest to you might not have been there for the right reasons. As the conversation turned toward Jakes's legacy, Bynum reflected on the double-edged nature of building something so massive. A legacy is supposed to outlive you, she said, but when it's built on your personality, your name, your brand, it becomes a burden. The Potter's House, Jakes's Dallas megachurch, had become a global phenomenon. His influence transcended religion. But now, with his departure, the question remained, can his legacy survive without him? Bynum posed a haunting question. Is it possible for the legacy of T.D. Jakes to survive if it's so deeply tied to his image? She emphasized that true legacy should be rooted not in the leader's persona, but in the ministry's values and mission. Jakes's decision, she said, would shake not only his church but the entire mega-ministry model that had dominated modern Christianity. When a figure like T.D. Jakes steps down, she noted, it shakes the very foundation of the system. The world, and the church with it, is changing. The era of celebrity pastors is fading, and a new generation is calling for authenticity, accountability, and humility. The future, Bynum said firmly, isn't about empire building, it's about healing, growth, and honest transformation. She highlighted the shift toward leaders who prioritize connection over charisma and transparency over performance. For her, Jakes's departure signified not an end, but a transition, both for him and the church as a whole. As for T.D. Jakes himself, Bynum predicted reinvention rather than retirement. He may step back from one role, but he'll find a way to reinvent himself, she said confidently. Yet she also questioned whether his brand identity would allow for genuine renewal. Her final message was not about criticism but about reflection, a call for the church to evolve. T.D. Jakes gave us an empire, she concluded, but the church's future isn't about empires. It's about serving people, nurturing faith, and returning to the heart of ministry. In the end, Bynum's words were more than commentary, they were a challenge. The church, she urged, must take a hard look at how it builds, supports, and holds its leaders accountable. The time for image-driven faith is over, the future belongs to authenticity and service.